Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no time.
Welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
Oh, and I'm Daniel Gonzalez. And we are sharing mics today.
Oh, yeah, like Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. You know what I mean? We do sing together, all this shit. COVID restrictions, not applying now. This is a two-part episode, our first two-parter, I think, and it's a two-parter that is 31 episodes apart from each other. So we didn't really plan that out, but it works out great because we are going to expand on maybe the craziest story we've had on this show.
All right, before we get into all of that, first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, all of the opinions expressed here on the Please Remain Calm podcast are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services. Also, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the podcast, guys. If you picked up your phone and pushed the button to listen to the podcast today, we really appreciate you listening, sharing about the podcast, talking to your friends about it. It's been growing leaps and bounds over the past few months with some of the great episodes that we've had with new people joining us along for the ride and subscribing. We really appreciate you sharing it. Please continue to do so. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. Please pick up your phone right now, hit the subscribe button on wherever you're listening. Hit the like button for the episode if it offers that. Leave a comment if you have anything to comment or suggestions on the episode. All of those things help our analytics and help us with placement on the different platforms and just help us to grow the podcast and help us to reach more people. So thank you all so much for your being a listener, and please share it with your friends. I also want to take just a minute here and talk to you about our sponsor, Power Solar, P-O-W-U-R. Power, like you guys know, is a solar company. Our friend Isela Bonata is a rep for them. She was a friend of the show. I contacted her about going solar. My wife and I have been talking about it for years, and we bought the electric car, which shot our power bills up. So it was something we just kind of had to do, along with just helping out the environment and doing something good that might help out our kids and our grandkids in the future. I've gone through the whole process with them. They came out, Isela came out with the contractors and stuff and looked over the house, looked over all our bills, recommended how many panels we should get. We added a few because we're planning on adding a pool. Everything was seamless. They came and installed everything in like 3.5 hours. It was really fast. They were really efficient, clean. I cannot recommend them enough if you guys are looking at going solar. You can contact Isela. It's Isela Bonata. It's I-S-E-L-A at 310-435-0231. You can go to her website at www.solarenergyqueen.com, or you can email her at solarqueen.isela. That's I-S-E-L-A at gmail.com. Listen, Power has been in the business since 2014. They're one of the fastest growing solar companies in the U.S. They know what they're doing. They deal with nothing but professional people, and I have nothing bad to say about them so far in the process that I've been going through with them. So give them a call if you're looking to go solar.
Oh, yeah. All right. And like we said, this is a two-part episode. We didn't really plan it out this way originally to be a two-part episode, but the story that we had originally, it really was a crazy story, a super risky rescue story told to us in episode, I think, 29 by Captain Boswell with LAFD. But I think some of the listeners who aren't firefighters weren't really able to grasp the details and appreciate how nuts this rescue was, basically. So now we've been lucky enough to have three guys who were also there and really did the hands-on work in this rescue to expand on it and tell us more and give us better details about what happened. And we also have clips, audio, video. So now you're really going to get a chance to dig in on what this episode was about.
I think it's important to note here that, something like this, a rescue like this, it's something that's drilled on a lot. Especially if you're at a station that has access points to the river or has the LA River like running through your district or something. It's something, especially in the raining season, that specialized equipment is kept on the rig for specifically for these things, and we drill specifically on these types of rescue. All that being said, none of these rescues are exactly the same. Every single one is different. Every single one has its own challenges. You know, the type of patient you have, the type of car you have, what part of the river this happened in, all that stuff affects the rescue. So with that being said, I want to introduce our guest today. Over here to the left, Donald Dillenberger. Say hi, dude.
Hi.
And I'm going to call you Dilly because
everyone calls me Dilly.
Everyone calls him Dilly. And if you go back to the past episode with Captain Boswell, we referred to Dilly a bunch in that episode when talking about this rescue. Next to him, we have Joel Smith. Joel, say hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Joel was the tillerman that day on Truck 73, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And where do you work now?
I'm a helicopter pilot at 114s.
Look at that, dude. We got a pilot.
Awesome.
And then lastly, we have Alex Salas. Alex was the firefighter on Truck 73 that day. Say what's up, man.
Hello, good morning.
And where are you at now?
I'm down at Metro Fire Communications.
Metro Fire. Okay, so
He was right in
dispatch
top
center
that
basically.
day.
Oh, he was right in top. Excuse me.
I was the AO, and then another person that's not here, Emil Williams, was riding inside.
And Dilly, you are a captain too now.
I am.
Assigned to
Fire Station 66, A Platoon.
66 South Central LA. Okay. Let's go ahead and play that first clip, the 22-second clip. Let us know when it's done because we can't hear it.
Have a victim in the water, by the water's edge, steep wall channel, and at this time we're going to take the ropes and see if we can pull them up from the edge. I recommend we get some people downriver from us. Roger that.
Yeah, just get setting it. All right. Just to kind of give just a little bit of set the tone a little bit. Let's just talk about what the day was like before that. Was this a morning call or an afternoon, mid-afternoon?
It was before dinner, so we'll call it late afternoon.
Late afternoon. And what was the day like up to that? Just a normal standard day?
Yeah, I think it was pretty stormy. Starting to rain pretty good. So I believe it. I mean, we kind of all talked about it as a crew. Let's put the swiftwater stuff on there, or just be ready for it anyways. That's pretty much the extent of our preparation for that. We're trained, but
sure,
we just don't know where it's going to pop off.
Was this like the first real rainy day of the season?
No,
guys,
this
do you
was,
remember?
I would say, this was late rain because this was May 14th.
Oh, okay, that's right.
2015. And so it was almost like a thunderstorm. It built throughout the day, and then in the afternoon, it's rare. I mean, unlike the other day, if City Hall got struck by lightning or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
There was thunder and lightning that day, and it was a heavy downpour. Rained a couple inches in an hour.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of water, man. People don't realize that either, too. Like how quickly those channels get filled up and get moving quickly. I want to show just a short clip. Can we show the video clip? Which would be the very last clip, the 34-second. Got a little video off of YouTube that kind of showed, shows just how fast the water is moving. Let's see if I can, just so you guys know what we're looking at here. So we're talking about a high-walled channel, right? And that water gets moving pretty quickly in there. I mean, what would you say, like 20, 25 miles an hour? And as it passes underneath, like overpasses and stuff like that, you get those like concrete pillars down the middle that a lot of times people can hopefully grab a hold of and try to hold on to. When you guys got the call, is the clip over? Yeah. When you guys got the call, what did it come down as? Just was it a river rescue? Was it a traffic? What did it come down as?
It came out as a physical rescue, so everybody suited up.
Pull that thing right over here.
And expectations of a traffic accident.
Okay, so you got your turnout coats on.
Yeah. Metro screwed up, so since this is, so they.
Go ahead,
Can I give some backstory here? I mean,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So the LA River, there was in 1992 a young man, 15 years old. His name was Adam Bischoff. And there had been previous river rescues, but he drowned in the valley there at a missed river rescue. And we had swiftwater procedures, but they weren't as they are today.
Right.
So after that, the LA River was plotted by the fire department, and certain rescue points were created. Without going into all the computer detail, the place that this rescue was at was not in the computer for a river rescue.
Oh, really?
Because there's no rescue point there. It's a vertical wall. It's called the Aliso Creek Branch, which starts up in the Porter Ranch area. If you know LA at all, up there by like Tampa, DeSoto in the mountains.
Sure.
Comes down, vertical channel designed to get the water as fast as it can to the main river there, which is the LA River. Kind of runs parallel along Victory Boulevard and dumps into the Sepulveda Basin. So for the call takers at Metro, there was really no way to make this type of rescue at this point.
At that location.
It's not anticipated that you're going to have someone in the position that we had. Usually the water would just wash them down right away.
Sure.
And you
Moving too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
And there's nothing to hold on to.
25 to 30 miles an hour. And you're going to try to attempt for the fire department. The first rescue point is on the LA River, which has a V-shaped channell.
Right.
Not
You can
vertical
actually
concrete.
get guys to the water edge.
Yes.
Tie off, get a guy to the water edge, and do an operation there.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So basically, vertical wall channel, it's impossible. They didn't even plan to make rescue points when they made this plan because you just let it go, basically.
Yeah, right. I mean, we train so those what we call like the trapezoid channels.
That's the right word. Thank you.
You know, we set up our anchor point. You're able to kind of lean up against the ropes. You know, you have good footing. You have your tool out there, getting ready to grab somebody. For a sheer wall, that's more like a high angle rescue type of thing. And with running water, there's no good way, no good safe way. You know, we have a risk management process. We go through all this. There's just no. If the patient's there, we're going to pick them off either out of bridge, and then, you know, channel them over to one of the sides and then pick them off from there, you know, or go to one of the trapezoid channels. And you know, the Swiftwater team is highly trained in that. We have kind of basic stuff. Alex and I are classmates, you know, so at our 10-month, we go through, you know, our Swiftwater process. And I mean, the shit hit the fan for us. You know, one of the Swiftwater guys got churned over. That was so my first impression on Swiftwater rescue is like, I hate this stuff.
During training, you're talking about?
Yeah, during training.
Yeah.
And I'm, you know, Alex is up there, you know, one of the anchor guys. I'm in the water going, okay, what do I do? Hey, we actually have an emergency. We got to get this guy, you know, unconscious, get him over. So my first impression of this, I'm like, this is part of our job?
Sure, yeah.
What the heck did I
yeah.
get myself into? I knew it was, you know, it was going to be part of the duties, but I didn't have any idea how much Swiftwater sucks.
Oh, yeah, dude. And I feel the same way, man. Just dumb luck. I got to 85s my third house as a rookie, right when 85s was going USAR with everybody else, right? So we got to go through USAR school, basically, as a third house rookie. And we went to a Swiftwater training with that. And same deal. You know, you're sitting in there doing the training. I'm just like, you know, your hands are, people don't realize, like, it's not just like the technical aspect of the rescue itself, but the physical aspect of it as well. First of all, it's almost nighttime. It's cold. It's stormy. Everything is wet. Everything is slippery. Your hands are freaking numb if you're dealing with stuff. And if you do any work with your hands when it's cold, you bang your hand on something, you hit it on the metal. Everything's metal. Everything's getting banged. So everything just feels like, fuck, this sucks, you know? Add on the stress of, holy shit, there's a life in the balance here. Exactly. Holy shit, this is something that we don't really train on this particular type of rescue. You know, as a department, it's kind of and there's a crowd watching you, and the news cameras are there watching you, and you know, you have to make this happen. It's do or die with this type of thing. So the added stress of that on top of an already difficult operation, I can only imagine. Had you guys ever actually, because a lot of times you go out drilling, you do the bread and butter of an operation. Had you guys drilled on this particular, actually getting somebody vertical up out of this wash before? Never?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I mean, let's go ahead.
Dilly's probably going to say the same thing. I mean, it goes through your head.
Yeah.
You know, hey, what if someone's snagged here? What are we going to do? But there's really no good answer.
Sure, yeah.
You know, depending on the water level, it's like.
Well, it's just funny because, like, a lot of times you go out drilling or something like that, and you walk over for something, it's like, all right, let's do a fucking crazy scenario here. You know, tree trimmer gets zapped by a wire and falls over here. He's broken back. He's unconscious. You know, we got to get him in a litter basket off of here. You know, some crazy fucking scenario. So you guys never.
You know how, like, Lynn did experience, so backstory, I was a firefighter at this assignment, same, you know, now 15 years later, I'm the AO there.
Sure, okay.
But before that, when I'm a boot on the job, I get off probation, wind up at 73s on the C shift. And at that time, they had a lot of tenured guys there. So One of them, his name's Jim Bazzini. He's been retired for a long time. Good man, typical old LAFD, like jacked, mustache I could never grow in my life, you know?
Old school AO.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he was a firefighter then. But anyways, he's talking because we're drilling on river rescue, and he was at the Adam Bischoff incident. And you could tell, like, and so this was 18 years late. No, it's 12 years later for him. And it still bothered him. Yeah. He was like, I wasn't ready for it. We killed this kid. I could have just jumped in and grabbed him and swam, you know, like.
Shit.
And so his thing, like, he didn't really have any advice. His thing was just like, if I ever go to that again, I'm not letting a guy drown. Yeah. You know, like he just kept going by rescue points. And like I said, the Adam Bischoff thing changed the way the fire department does these as far as planning, how the dispatches work. But,
sure. Yeah. And just to touch on that real quick, you know, when you talk about like planning river rescue and stuff like that, when we talk about that, like, let's say you get a report of somebody that went into the river at, you know, wherever, point A. And you can kind of touch on this too, being at Metro, they try to have information on how fast the water is moving and all that stuff. And they try to figure out what are the points that this person is going to be at based on the time that it was reported, based on what companies are available and stuff like that, to plot out where exactly they want to put these rescue points. And in a situation like this, they probably have one, you know, wherever they wind up saying to put one, you guys wind up at this spot, but they would put another one or two companies further down the river so that in case something happened with this rescue, he slips out of the rope, he slips out of the harness, he gets too tired and passes out and lets go and gets shot down the river. There's another operation set up at another rescue point down the river a little bit. Do they take all that stuff? Like if they get someone in the river, like a call for that, is that all planned on, or is that all something that the computer-aided dispatch already has laid out based on where the report is from?
Initially from the first caller, that's where everything is set up from.
Yeah.
And then after that, you can get additional callers with the new sightings.
Sure.
Which will start the whole process over again further down the river. So it's just, everything's dynamic, everything's changing. Yeah. You're only as good as your caller, so you try and get as much good information as you can to set the field up for success. And take
computers actually, I mean, our system in LA is after this incident. So they put in they got all the maps from Army Corps of Engineers, is who designed the channels. You know, there's like 470 miles of these type of channels in LA. And so they have the actual maximum speeds built into the computer at Metro. And so a company goes to the initial dispatch point, and based on the time seen and the maximum speed, the computer calculates where to send people downstream. So, I mean, the system that we have is pretty amazing for this, like, you know, like well thought out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it didn't work in this scenario because this channel wasn't programmed.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, so I was going to say, going back to asking if you guys ever thought of drilling about it, like you said, you have the idea, sure, that could happen, I guess, but there's nothing you could really do. Like if there was like a book, like a chapter in a book on this specific type of rescue, the first thing would say, don't do it.
Right.
Don't even attempt this. There's no scenario to even like really try to plan something out. But that's why it's great that you gave that background on Adam Bischoff, because when it happens, what are you going to do? Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like you said, you're not going to let another guy drown. So this is it. You gotta, jump in.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like having, your dog chasing the car tire. You know, I'm sure the dog could get it.
Yeah,
what are you going to do with the tire once the dog grabs it? You know, and that was, I mean, we'll get into it. That's kind of what we were presented with. Hey, we got the guy, and all right, now what? We've never drilled on this before, you know. And then kind of given some of the helicopter background too, is that like Dilly said, hey, we got a point last seen where the victim, apparently went in, and then we send a helicopter downstream. So even for air operations, we have a really robust swiftwater response and rescue, format here in LA. It's amazing how many people we pick out of the river every year. It's kind of a rare spot, in the country for swiftwater rescues.
I mean, it's kind of a testament to our department as a whole that we even have all the equipment and resources that we have to be able to effect a rescue like this.
They weren't dispatched this day because it got sent as a vehicle.
That's true.
Right.
So at what point? So you guys get dispatched for it was a physical rescue, right?
Yeah.
That happens. You're thinking traffic accident, and as a physical rescue, somebody needs to be cut out of the car. At what point did you guys, so let's get to the actual incident here. At what point you pull up, and what do you see as you're pulling up? You're expecting to see a car accident, obviously, and you pull up to an intersection, and?
Well, shoot, I'll just, I don't know if you've ever worked with Dilly. This guy suits up and gets in the frickin' truck so fast, and I'm tillering. I know that, right? So I know that every time.
That's a good thing.
Well, it is.
People in the public.
And every time I'm tillering for Dilly, I think you're working sod that day, right? Because it was on an A shift because we're on the same shift. And I'm like, all right, I'm the tillerman for Dilly. Here goes, the bell goes off, run, get out of the kitchen. I got to push Dilly out of the way. Yeah, I'm hearing the beep, 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 calling to start the truck. So we suit up real fast, in full turnouts, type of thing. And then we, go blitzing out the door. And then from there, you got more of the situational awareness than I do. I'm just following the truck,
Sure, yeah.
Well, Alex was behind me. So Paul Nelson, hopefully he hears this someday. He's retired now, Captain 2. Okay. The Pink Pig, he's like a legend on the job, It's a pleasure to drive. We're dispatched on a vehicle. We're talking. We're pulling out, and it's pouring, like standing water on the road.
Yeah.
Windshield wipers are maxed out, And I couldn't tell you the exact timing, but as we're driving up Reseda Boulevard towards Parthenia, where we're going to make a left, the dispatch gets modified. And so now this is a car in the river. And so we're talking, and I remember he has his phone, and he's looking up like the river. Sure. Oh, wait a minute, this is a vertical. So now we're thinking this is a car in the channel.
Sure.
And right as we're pulling up on scene, and I mean, it's because I remember we slid through that intersection at Parthenia there because it's concrete, the back got a little loose, and okay, I'll slow down a little bit. So we're getting closer to this thing. Right as we're pulling up on scene, it gets modified to a river rescue incident. And, so like from the channels change for the radio stuff. Yeah. But for us, it was like, because we're in completely the wrong attire for a river rescue incident.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, when we say a river rescue is its own beast as a whole, I mean, it's a completely different beast. You want to wear tennis shoes so you're not slipping around there. You obviously don't want to have your big heavy coat on in case you fall in or something like that. You want to have a flotation device. You want to have a helmet on in case you do fall and you don't want to crack your head. It's a whole nother way of thinking or looking at a rescue than you would be thinking of a physical rescue cutting somebody out of a car. Not only that, but now you're thinking of there's a car in a sheer, you're already looking over the river, sheer wall. It's just like, fuck, what do we do at this point? You know what I mean? Just like we talked about earlier. And it goes back to something that I brought up in the past about just being a firefighter in general. You see these reports in the newspaper all the time about our salaries and shit like that, guys that made $200,000 or whatever in the year. Like, people don't realize, number one, you have to work damn near every day to make, the 350, the amount that they're talking about with these guys, in spots that are required to have somebody in it. So if this guy's working that much, but not only that, it's like you'll see in those stories sometimes reports of like, oh, this station only ran 4 calls or whatever, averaged 4 calls. And this guy's making this much money working at that station. It's like, okay. You don't fucking realize that we have to be on deck with knowledge of damn near any situation that you call for. Like, time is of the essence with all of these fucking calls, especially something like a rescue like this, where literally a guy's hanging on for his life and could get tired and let go at any moment. So and having time on the job, I'm sure we all do it. You almost like look at what the screen says and you go, okay, well, that's generally the call I'm going to, but I have no fucking clue what I'm going to see when I show up to this thing, and you almost just calmly pull up to things, and then settle in at the incident and take it all in and see what the hell you're dealing with and develop a plan from there. Once you actually got to the scene, you were able to visualize what was going on. What was it that you guys saw?
You want to talk about that, Alex?
We pulled up and down the river, we saw some civilians holding this patient with a big stick, a big branch.
Was he up against one of the pillars going underneath the overpass, or was he just hanging on to the side wall?
No, he was hanging onto the branch.
It was a board. Sorry,
it was a board.
It's a commercial area.
Gotcha.
So there's a high wood fence there, like 12-foot planks.
Okay.
And so that's a broken board that these people, they broke a board off the fence. They've got it over the side, he is hanging. And if you could imagine, like, if anybody's been around water sports, if you're dragging a skier behind the boat, holding on to a ski rope, He looks like that. Like he's up on top of the water, and we could barely
Just
see.
because of how fast the water was moving.
Yeah.
And he's hanging on to a stationary.
And so that was, and Captain Boz, he thought it was an expansion joint, and we're not here to, these things like you get a snapshot of this.
Oh, yeah.
And he's 100 yards away.
Sure.
Yeah. So we all have a little, and that's why I was so excited that they could come today, because they're a big part of this story,
So when you first see what you see, civilians, they got a board, this guy's hanging on for dear life. What's your first thought as an AO? I mean, obviously in this scenario, you being first on scene, having the technical knowledge that you have as an AO, are you USAR and all that stuff too now?
Yeah, I've taken all the classes, but I'm not at it. USAR science. All that stuff, like, I believe in what I had thought in the past. Like, if you watch these things historically, the fire department, like there was a video from the 90s, the county has a lowering operation. They got a guy off a bridge and they're holding this guy. I'm like, he can't lower himself down lower. He's counting on up there. And I'm not, again, this is just like video footage. Yeah, I could have details wrong, so I don't mean any offense to them.
Go ahead.
And he loses them. And you see so many of these where we lose them. And I know that on river rescue drills with these guys, I was like, we have a person, we're going in to get them.
Yeah.
Like, if we're on the side of this trapezoid channel, we're going to give ourselves enough rope that you can jump in and grab him and we'll pull you out. And I know I've had that conversation. Like, this is time that we get paid for. Like, what you're talking about, like, I'm a captain now, fuck all these safety rules. Like, you're getting paid. This is what the public should expect from you.
Yeah.
This is why your salary's high. You're an insurance policy for the public, right? Same thing like if a civilian's trapped in a structure fire or whatever. Like, yes, we have safety rules that we don't tend to follow them all the time in these rare circumstances. And there's a joke. There's a fine line between like a medal of valor and a reprimand.
Yeah. It's very true. Even in this case. So let's, can we play the second audio clip? It's the 26-second one.
Rescue group, additional size up. We have a rope on the victim at this time. We're going to put a ladder down to have them climb out. We've got engine 70 attached with truck 73. We need the bolt cutters up here and a ladder, quick. He's gonna go. Engine 8, get a line.
So is that pretty much at the beginning of the rescue? Like
That's
how
a little
far?
into it, so I'll give some context.
So
to that.
take us through the rescue, man.
So we
got
get
this
off
guy hanging
the
on.
truck. We get off the truck. We can see the guy. The first clip you heard was Nelson talking about the person's in a steep wall channel. The water's moving very fast. I remember telling Alex, get the ropes. And we also had that day, who we haven't mentioned yet, was a police officer with us.
Oh, that was a black cloud, man. Every time he rode along with us, we got structure fires. Gnarly
He wanted
accidents.
to be on the fire department. I don't know what's happened to him since then. He was like a 5-year PD officer with LAPD.
But he would come to ride along?
Yeah,
with you
because he
guys?
wanted to learn about the fire department.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah,
That's
off
cool.
duty. He was a good dude. Yeah.
So he's riding in the back seat with Alex. And so as we get out, I'm like, get the ropes. And, I run over, grab the bolt cutters, and there's a typical storm channel, chain link gate, cut it. And we're like in a full sprint down to this guy.
Sure.
And so I'm running and taking off my turnouts and giving this cop all my shit. Because I'm like, I just know I'm going to have to go in the fucking water.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not going to go in with a turnout coat on. Right. And the person that actually saved this person, like, we were going to lose him because he lost this board. So I get down there like 100 yards, and Alex is a little behind me and Joel because however we got off the rig, and I tell him, go get the ropes,
Sure.
And so he pulls the running end of this rope, our main line system, right, out of the bag, and just nails the guy, like drills him with it as it's tied coming out of the bag. So it's got the load releasing hitch, carabiners, like all of this shit tied to it. And we've never drilled on that.
Sure, yeah.
But it worked great because it gave him something to grab.
When you say tagged him, I mean, it just like smacked, everything smacked him.
Like hit him in the face.
Right in the head.
So just for anyone that doesn't or know what we're talking about here, these bags, like our main line and belay line, are for rope rescues. There's a whole system, and ingrained in that for like high angle, low angle rescues and stuff like that. There's safety mechanisms attached. So there's all these carabiners and things attached to the end of this line that are designed to be there so we can quickly hook up to an anchor point and lower somebody down or help to raise somebody back up. So when you grab the end of that thing, I mean, when it's not just like a carabiner on the end of the thing, it's like a bunch of metal, you know what I mean? Like tied to like I wouldn't want to get hit with it, you know what I mean? But that's what we're talking about in these incidents, you know, that are so dynamic, so time is, you know, so important.
I'm like 100 feet ahead of him. Right. And as I get to the guy, he loses hold of this board.
Oh shit.
And so, and the water, you know, it's going 25, 30 miles an hour. It's cranking. And so I yell back at him, he's come and get ready. I didn't give him any instruction. He just naturally pulled the ropes out or however, I'd like to hear what, because we've never really talked.
Dilly yelled, he's coming.
Pull that thing right here in front of you.
Dilly yelled, he's coming. And he was moving fast.
And you're running with the bags at this point.
So I had the bags. I dropped the bag down. I reached in. We had a couple carabiners and Prussics on there, and it was a couple pounds of weight. And I gave a couple arm lengths. There was the chain link fence that was still intact at that point. So I got a couple arm lengths and reached up as high as I could up and over the fence, and just launched it as hard as I could and hit the guy right in the chest. I heard a thud. I know it was painful.
Yeah.
And he grabbed onto it.
You know, the other thing though too is like, who knows how numb that dude was being in cold ass water. You know what I mean? That might have just, and just your, you know, we all been in fires where you're freaking shaking at the end and you don't think as clearly either, especially if you're getting pounded. So that might have been a blessing that whole big bunch of shit hit him in the chest. And he went, oh shit, what the hell is this?
I gave him something to grab, and then I'm going to give Alex some more credit, and he gave him instruction. So
talk about that.
He told him to wrap himself up in it. Beautiful. You know, so he's got his arm now, and he's got his arm. Keep wrapping your arm in it. Keep wrapping your arm in it. So this thing's like basically twisted enough around this guy that he's not just holding it with his hand.
Yeah,
you know?
Which would be almost impossible for someone who's that tired on a slippery rope. I mean, even halyards trying to raise up a 35 or something like that at a fire. Those things are slippery, man. It takes real grip strength to hold on to that thing.
He kept screaming that he was going to let go. He couldn't hold on. And he was hysterical. And I told him, I said, stick your arm through the loop, one of the Prussics, and hold on to your arm.
Yeah.
So he locked his arm in, and that gave us enough time for the remainder of what happened.
Yeah, clear, precise instructions. I like
That was good. So, I mean, Alex and I are running together, and I remember looking at him like, what do we do? It's like, just throw the trash at him. And it's like, you know, and Alex did awesome. I mean, he gave him very clear and concise instructions. The guy's eyes were wide open looking up at us like, I'm going to die, you know, like help me out. So he wrapped him up, and now I'm the tillerman. So, you know, we didn't really talk too much about it, but we kind of have designated, you know, job instructions, you know, depending on the position. This was kind of like, it's all going to the wind right now. But I took some of the rope that Alex had thrown out, and I'm like, I need to find an anchor because this guy's going to get real heavy. Yeah. We're not gonna be able to hold on to him. So I go run over to the fence, and it's literally, you know, that 12, 14 foot fence for hundreds of yards, and nothing good to bite
nothing
on.
Sturdy.
I tried looping up and over, broke the fence. I'm like, oh crap, this isn't good. So we ended up figuring out, like, well, you know, Alex had wrapped the top part, you know, the fence post, and just held on to the very top because the fence was still there. We couldn't get to the bottom like we're always taught, you know, low for anchors. And this guy's just holding on, skiing, and I don't remember who cut the fence. So we had to actually cut the fence open, right? Dean Stroud.
Oh, that's right.
Came up with a rotary saw, and that was after we'd already started getting ready to, you know, go in the water, because he came up, you know, he never ran.
Yeah,
he came walking up, had the rotary saw running.
Yeah, Dean.
You know, and I just remember telling him, and this is a little later in it, but don't cut my ropes, dude. You know, he just kind of smiled like,
yeah, whatever, AO.
It should be said, it should be just pointed out too, it's just another thing, you know, this not being a point that you typically do river rescues at, because a lot of these points that are pre-designated for rescues and stuff will have like anchors there built in that you can actually anchor onto specifically for.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Typically we don't have to cut fences to get inside, you know, with the rescue area. Normally it's wide open trapezoid. It's, you know, a piece of cake compared to this scenario. So at this point, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but this is where we hastily came up with a quick plan. Dilly came up, he goes, hey, I'm going in. Tie me a harness. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Tie you a harness? like normally we have, tie-offs and harnesses, and safety stuff.
And a safety officer to check everything that you just did.
Right. So I tied you like a quick.
Just gave me a webbing and a carabiner. And if anyone knows, I tied a lark's foot around my chest with a half hitch. So I had a carabiner, a regular department issue webbing with another half hitch to keep it from, biting down on me and making me lose all my ability to breathe.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, this is anchored to what again?
The fence post.
The top of it?
The top. Dean ended up cutting the other side of the fence.
That's one side of it. So that we're down there, and this is me and Alex talking now, and that's why this is good, because there's just so much going on. So he's got him. Alex has him wrapped around the top post of the fence to hold him, and the guy's hanging there, and we're like, he's not going to be there very long. Right. That's the timing on that last clip where that person on the radio, his name's Joe Flores, he's like, we need a ladder down here because we're going to lose him. So now we're at that time in the incident. Okay. So we've already decided what we're doing, So I threw a bunch of extra rope out of the other end of the bag, pulled it out of the bag on the ground. A fence post up ahead of the guy. They're the same fence, but a loop around it with a couple half hitches as an anchor point. That's the best thing we could do. And where the victim was, walked enough rope out, and I just guessed it. It was a swag, and it looked good, Yeah. Because it was about a 6-foot fall from the edge of the channel at that time down to the water level. Okay. So if you can imagine the top concrete where we're standing is here, the guy's down lower in the water, about 6 feet. And so I walked that distance and testing my system. I'm leaning back into it, and I've got enough extra rope, and I'm holding myself with what we call a Munter hitch. Sure. Yeah. But actually it was my left hand on this thing, and so my anchor point, like my carabiner's like right here, head high, and so I'm walking back, I test it, the engineer cuts the fence, and a roof ladder comes up. Nino Lovato from 104s brought the right size roof ladder. And so that's just a little correction to what Captain Boz said. So now the roof ladders goes in, hooks are hanging on the fence. Right. And I do have a picture I'll send you for that.
Okay, perfect.
And so the roof ladder's there, but the current is so fast that it's pushing this, it wants to lift this ladder out of the water.
Roof ladders for those that don't know, have big hooks on the edge. They're typically meant for like a high pitch roof. If we're going to go up and cut on a roof like that, we'll obviously throw a ladder to the roof line, but then we'll bring, depending on how high the pitch is, we'll bring these roof ladders up that have these hooks that will slide all the way up and hook over the top ridge of the roof. That way they're stationary there, and we have some footing to be able to walk onto the top of the pitch to be able to cut and stuff like that. So having that in a situation like this where you have a sheer wall, it's almost it's a blessing almost to grab that ladder. Even to think about it, because like I said before, a lot of times incidents like this, it's so hectic and there's so much shit and so many people, hurry up, get me there, hurry up. You're just like, fuck, man, I'm going to get the closest thing that's going to work. To have the forethought to think, fuck, a roof ladder would be really good to have these hooks to hang on to it. It's just another thing that went right, in a whole series of things.
My buddy Ross Torstenbow, so he was a captain at the time, but he's driving engine 70. He pulls up and blocks the ladder bay on the truck, because this is, so sorry, Ross, if you're listening. But so he backs up. Nino, who's heads up, he's from 104. He's like, we need a roof ladder down there, and that was crucial. Just the amount of manpower alone to keep this roof ladder, so we got this set up, the fence, chain link fence gets cut, and
so there's Dilly, right, with this hodgepodge rescue plan. Alex and I are looking at each other like, oh my God, what is going on? So Dilly hands me the other end of the, I'm forgetting the ropes, man. I've been off the truck too long. But anyway, the main line. So he's got the Munter hitch. So now I got enough to, if he needs, to lower him into the victim. Right. And he looks at me, he goes, you got me? And I'm like, I look at him, I'm like, yeah. And he goes, he kind of sets back like this, leans back, and he goes, Hey, you guys ever seen Total Recall? No BS. Alex and I look at each other like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And as we're thinking like, what do you mean? He jumps in.
He's going in.
He jumped. I mean, just all the way in. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, this guy is out of his mind. Okay, I got him. So now the rescue's on. I needed help holding him. You know, I'm starting to slide. So guys start jumping on the rope. That cop that was riding along with us actually grabbed onto a piece of the rope to help hold on. Once we got Dilly kind of into just real fine tune, he just grabbed him, wrapped him up. I said, hey, we need to anchor this thing off. So I don't even remember who I passed the ropes off to, because now I'm thinking, what's the next spot? We need to get him out.
So now, did you go in right above where he was at, or did you go up?
I went
stream
above
a little
him.
bit.
I went above him because I'd already measured the distance, and then I just guessed I'm like plus the 6 feet for the fall for the angle, you know.
And let the water
And
take
I
you
said
right over to him.
to them, and I don't know. I guess it's just because I'm just my
Smart
sense
ass.
of humor, you know.
Did you have that in the can already for a moment like this? Did you held on to that from when you saw Total Recall?
It was a joke from me when we used to do elevators, and I'll make fun of it. There was a Captain 2 we had at 37s. He drove me nuts, you know. So I would go above 2 or 3 floors above the shaft and slide the cables down on top of the guys. And one of the guys, he's actually my Captain 1 now, Mike Holt, because this Captain 2 at the time, like I made him nervous, you know.
Yeah.
And so these shafts were dark, and the first time he saw me do it, Mike says this, and he's like, he's going down. And so I jump in the thing, and he thinks I've just jumped in this shaft. Like, he has no idea there's cables in there. And,
That's hilarious, man.
and I don't know why at this point, and you know how like, I would always like, I felt like I was from these guys know, like I was never a screamer at incidents. Like if anyone was quiet there, it was the 3 of us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and so that was kind of my thing to just calm them down a little bit, like a joke.
And there's a lot to be said about that, man, about staying calm, you know, and all these us
your
cops,
show
all that
title.
stuff. Yeah, exactly, man. There's a lot to be said about remaining calm. You know, a lot of things can be twisted up in your mind. And like we said, when you're working and you're physically drained and stuff like that, it affects your thinking, you know, and problem solving ability even more. Can we play the third audio clip, the 14-second one?
Battalion 15 Rescue Group, have you got any additional resources to help out Truck 73 at this time? Immediately. Stand by 1. Truck 73 from engine. We're working our rescue. Give us a few minutes. RA 104, RA 107, can you assist Light Force 73? Rescue Group. We've got hands on the patient. Patient's limp, trying to get him up the ladder. That's where we need the manpower.
So I think that was the next one. Can we play the 14-second one?
Truck 73 from engine 73, you see what's going on? We got one member attached with the patient.
That's Boswell there.
Copy that. Let's get him out.
So you get in the water. You're in the water now. You get over to him. What's his condition when you actually make contact with him?
So I'd like to say I planned it. Maybe I got a little lucky because I landed perfect in the water and I jumped, you know?
Yeah.
I like rolled over backwards. So I got myself here.
It's perfect, man. You nailed it. You can say,
and there was a data.
No luck involved with skill.
Like you said, like I'd thought about this, not the specific, but I was just like, I'd promised myself if I had this situation, I wasn't going to let a guy die like this, you know? And so I basically land in an outstanding spot where I'm on top of the guy almost without knocking him off of what he is. So I let a little bit out from myself here and I get around him, like bear hug, got arm around him, both my legs, like I've got this guy in a good lock. We're not going to lose him. The ladder is in now and we're touching this ladder.
Okay.
And this guy is, at this point, he's a limp noodle.
Yeah.
He has nothing left. And from the, it's rare you're in a situation with somebody where they think they're going to die, and that's just reality. Like,
sure,
and this dude thought he was going to die, I mean, he had exhausted all the adrenaline he had, his clothes were basically torn off by the force of the water.
Yeah, he was naked. He was buck naked from the waist down. Yeah.
So
Even more difficult to hang on to or
it's the only
get
time
anything
I've
to
ever
bite
hugged
on.
a naked man, but
Sure.
Hold me closer.
you know, the ladder, you know, it's funny because you think, and this is, you know, these things like this happened. You know, I'm not going to say that the department didn't really publicize this for the safety rules broken.
Sure, yeah.
And they can do whatever they want, just like now, you know. But I'd forgotten a lot of the details till I saw you and we started talking. I asked them if they would come to this with me today because they were such a big part of it. But the water was hauling ass.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can see in that video, man.
You know, and I'd never been, you know, I'd been around the water. I'm not like some expert water person, you know, but the water's pushing on me hard. Sure. Yeah. Like the fluid mechanics are a really amazing thing. And I've got this guy, but I can hear, like I remember hearing the varnish on the rung joints breaking as it's twisting this ladder. And I was in the water for about 7 minutes holding him until we actually got him positioned enough to get him out. But there was a point, you know, in this thing where a couch went by my head and it was going like a Volkswagen.
Oh, shit.
You know?
Yeah,
and crazy. So the amount of debris that's hitting me in this thing, and the water is rising. This is getting faster.
Because the whole time this is happening, it's pouring rain, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now you got him. You're bear hugging him. You guys are up against the ladder. Is that's how you both got out? Was he able to climb up out of the ladder, or how did the actual physical rescue get from you guys both being down there wrapped up?
So like Dilly said, the water was rising. So when he initially jumped in, the water was going a certain speed, and because this thunderstorm was actively dumping north of us, the water was going faster and it was rising. So he's sitting there struggling, trying to hold on to this dude, and I'm like, what do we do? I'm actually in the moment of tying myself off with the other rope bag that we got. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I go, hey, I got to grab him. So I go over that. Now it's a 90-degree sheer wall, and they're close enough to where I'm at my waist and I'm in my turnout pants still, because I shedded my coat. Like Dilly was saying, we were, you know, undressing, and I get down there and I'm just able to get my hands underneath the guy's armpits. So I curl them and I hook them. Well, that was not very well thought out, because now I can't get out. I'm stuck. But I took some weight off. I was able to take the weight off of Dilly, and I start sliding in. I feel it scraping my stomach. I'm sliding in. I yell back, and I'm like, someone grab my feet. I'm sliding in. So now I'm thinking, well, shit.
It's like a movie, man.
I'm like, if I slide in, I'm just going to grab Dilly. This guy.
Oh, God.
Like, Dilly's, well, no, I'm like, Dilly's tied off. You know, I'm like, I'm kind of tied off, but I don't know what.
These guys, you know, like all the politics in the fire, and like I could care less about accolades and awards. When you told me that young firefighters were watching this, like people that wanted to be on the job, you know, to me, this was important because things like this were why I wanted to be a firefighter, right? Yeah. Like where you have the ability to change someone's life, right? Like we showed up and there's other people that probably could have, but the scenario just worked out and we saved this guy this day. Without a doubt, he would have drowned, you know, but the ladder, I'll just say, cause I was trying my hardest, cause like I said, this guy's a limp noodle. Like he has nothing for me. He's not following my instructions at all. And so I'm trying to get under him, to get him on my shoulder so I can, but I'm going to lose him. And I'd had an extra webbing I'd put around my neck because I'm going to lark's foot this guy in my mind. But the water, the fluid mechanics is amazing. Like the water is pushing me so fucking hard that I don't want to let go. Because remember, I got this, I got one arm around him, and now in my mind, I don't even, I'm going to lark's foot him with this webbing. I'm going to hold him with my legs. Like, no way. Yeah. No fucking way, you know? So fortunately, like I said, the water's rising because I could see, and you know, in my mind, I'm thinking like, this could go bad too, right? Sure, yeah. You know, I'm trying to be prepared for the other case. I'm like, if we both wind up, you know, this rope comes, whatever, you know, what's the next plan, right? And so the water on the bridge down at Parthenia, I can tell like the daylight under it's getting less.
Right. So you know it's,
and I'm getting closer.
Rising,
And so he was there, and then Joe Flores climbed down the ladder and you might want to tell that part because did he lock in or how did he wind up grabbing two?
Was he's a deuce at the time?
He's a captain one, but he was working as a fireman on engine 70 that day.
Oh, okay. Solid fireman. Yeah.
He'd been around forever. Yeah.
The force of the water was twisting the ladder, so it was just difficult positioning and him pushing up. So he went down the ladder and he was trying to figure out, as best as we all could to get him up. I yelled down, lock in.
I mean, you're dealing with two full grown men, dead weight, trying to get them both up. So.
I just yelled, lock in. He put his leg through the rungs and locked in. That enabled him to be able to reach and get a hold of him with the two hands as opposed to holding on with one hand on the rungs and one on the body. And then Dilly was able to help push up. And
as soon as he took some weight from me, because I mean, you gotta, like, I had this guy, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as they were able to take some weight, I was able to dunk down into the, because I'm fighting this current trying to hold me up on top of it now, that whole skier dragging on a rope thing. So I'm able to go down. I'm using the ladder. I got 1 foot on the ladder. I kind of let go of him, and I've got a foot on the roof ladder, and I can go down a little bit, and I got him under my shoulder.
Perfect.
And that's when I knew. I was like, okay. So I climb up a rung, and they lift, and they basically just
step by step, huh?
No, there was no step by step.
It was like
the
birth. I mean, the guys.
shit.
I'm holding on. These guys are tugging my feet so hard. They're now scraping up backwards. So I'm going, God. So I'm holding on to this guy.
On a chain link fence. Like they're dragging him on a.
Well, we're on the ground, like, so the gravel. So I was able to, I was laying on my stomach, on the gravel and just lifting this guy, or trying to hold on to him. And I just feel like 6 guys all in like this row, whoosh, just launched me right out of the thing. Just, here comes the victim.
Yeah.
I kind of tossed him off the side. I'm like, okay, he's safe. Let's go get Dilly. I didn't even bother, with the victim at this point because we still have a rescue going on. We have our guy in the water still.
It's so funny how we do all this drilling and there's all this technical shit that goes along with all kinds of operations that we do. And when, a lot of times when it comes down to it, it's just brute fucking strength that will get you through this or that, or, get you in the door. It's like, how do you open this door? Well, fuck, hit it with the goddamn sledgehammer. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny how sometimes it's just that, in the end, when it comes down to it, it's just the guys working together with the string. And another reason why you have to stay fit, I think this entire incident is a testament to all the unsung things about being a firefighter that don't get praised enough. The fact that we do have to stay physically fit, prepared physically for something like this. I mean, you guys it's just before dinner, you're winding down the day at that point. You've had a full day, you've run a bunch of calls, you're tired, just like anybody else on their average everyday, day. Or if it's the middle of the night when you're dead asleep, to be able to go from 0 to 100 if this incident were to happen at 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. But then also the skill of, Joe locking into the ladder. It's not something you use all the time. You know what I mean? It's something you're taught in the drill tower. You might use it if you're cutting the bars off a window, on the second floor or some shit like that. It's like, it's just not a skill that you use all the time. But it's one of those things that over a career, you just throw in your toolbox of shit that you know how to do and know how to use. And I think that toolbox, probably came into play more than most in this incident for you, or for all you guys, really. I do want to play just that last little audio clip. Somebody on the radio praising you guys. That 9-second clip.
15 rescue group. Victim is out. Fire department is out. Situation is static.
Oh, no. I had one more. Sorry.
That was probably the command channel.
Yeah, I didn't have it set up. Anyways, it was command basically essentially saying, hey, this was a crazy ass rescue. Truck 73 did a hell of a job, essentially at the end of their audio there. I've talked about in the past, man. Most incidents that we go on are pretty bread and butter. You know what I mean? Chest pains or a structure fire. Everybody, talk shit about the guys down south going to chicken coops and garages and shit like that. But you show up, you lay the line, you pull the line, you do your, initial search, they pull people out of homes. It's bread and butter firefighting. And that's the majority of what we do. But there are the times when you have incidents like this that are dynamic from the very jump. Everything is lined up where it could result in a death or just a disastrous outcome. But for some reason on that day, you had the right people on the rig, everything just kind of fell into place. I mean, what if the civilians hadn't been there to have him holding on to the board?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That was the beginning of it, right?
So many little things that could have happened that this entire thing could have gone south. I mean, you guys could have gotten swept away. You could have gotten dragged under and tied off, and a rope gets caught up on the bottom of the ladder, and you're stuck under there, and no one's in there to help. You know what I mean? So many things that could have gone wrong and bad that didn't, and resulted in such a good outcome for the patient and for you guys. What do you got? We're getting close to the end here. We gotta wrap it up. Do you guys have anything else that you want to add? We'll just kind of go down the road here. Now that we're at the end of the story, what was your main takeaway from the call? I mean, especially being in our, and we talked about this earlier. It's so crazy how you guys were all, there's a lot of turmoil in the fire department right now. Okay. And it's funny for me getting a little older. I got 18 years on the job. You guys have time on the job now. Just like we talked about, you look back at your life and your career and you see these little snapshots of this person that you were this fireman, you did this at this station for a certain amount of time. And now you're, an AO or an engineer. And that's it's like a completely different, feels like a different world, a new station, new guys, new friendships, all that stuff. We were talking about it earlier, how, now you're at Metro, you're a pilot, flying the helicopters, and you're a captain too down in South Central, one of the most respected, busiest fire stations in the city. How did this, trying to think of the best way to word this, how did this incident affect your careers moving forward after this? Do you feel like, what would you feel like was your main takeaway from this?
I guess maybe, I wouldn't say necessarily main takeaways. You just know that when you drill with guys and you kind of understand who they are, you know that they got your back. That's one of the biggest things. That's partially why we drill, is so we know who we are and how we're going to react through all this stuff. So, I've had some swiftwater rescues on the helicopter, and I remember this scenario. And still to this day, I hate swiftwater rescues. Yeah. We do them, but it's one of those things you got to respect. You respect how strong the currents are. There's some scary stuff, but that's why we're there. That's why we get paid to jump in and to just kind of throw all safety out. That's it. We're just going to go put this one in God's hands and each other's hands and hope for the best. So that was a big takeaway for me.
Come on, Alex. You've been quiet.
Always quiet.
Just like Joel said, you work with a crew and you know each other, and you get to a point where you don't always have to talk. You know what Giller's going to do, what they're thinking, how they're going to react, and it worked out that day. Always feel comfortable working with Dilly.
Yeah.
And
I'm just going to say these guys are firemen of the highest caliber. I would take them any day in any seat. They did what I thought young firemen should do. They learned all the positions. They could sit in any seat. They had a good view of what needed to happen at incidents, and I had complete confidence in them that day. So,
lastly, real quick, did you guys get recognized by the city for this incident? What kind of recognition did the city give you? I know they were kind of hush-hushing it.
Dilly got a Medal of Valor, and Joel and I got Medal of Merits.
Well deserved, man. Thank you all for the three of you for coming on, man, talking about this. Like I said before, it's the other day, actually the day I worked down at 66 Khalil, later in the day asked me, he goes, "Dan, man, why are you so calm on incidents?" and we had a cool little discussion about it. But these type of incidents are the reason why the old timers are so calm, why the old timers seem like nothing bothers them, you know, why they can sit there and eat a bowl of dinner on the way to an incident and put it down when we get there and go, hey, what's going on? Okay, no sweat. You know what I mean? It's incidents like these. And it's guys like you know, captains and guys that the younger generation coming up are going to, you know, meet along the way and learn from. So an incident like this not only helps you guys to be better firefighters, helps me just hearing about it to be better, you know, on the other side of the city where I'm at. But the guys coming up, man, hearing stories like this and meeting firefighters like you and working with you guys and being guided by you, I think is one of the great things about this job and about being a firefighter is creating the relationships and learning from the guys that have been through it before, like you with your captains and stuff like that. So really appreciate you guys coming on. Yeah, you got anything?
No, appreciate you guys coming on. This is very insightful. Fucking crazy story, man. Do you guys have anything you want to promote? Drop your IGs. Yeah, charitable
I don't have
foundation.
any social media, but
All right, real men, not fucking around. Facebook.
Pansies like us.
Yeah.
Guys, you can reach me or you can follow me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter.
Follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign tumor on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow the show at PRC Pod on Instagram and Twitter or at PRC Podcast on TikTok. You can also email us, contact prcpod@gmail.com. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean. Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.